So today is all about QCE, which is the Queensland Certificate of Education. The goal is that every single one of you, regardless of your pathway, ATAR or non-ATAR, will walk out of here at the end of Year 12 with your QCE, Queensland Certificate of Education. And I will map that for you over the 2 years that you are with us, and you will get reports at various junctures in relation to how you are tracking in relation to your QCE points. So, important information that you need to know about QCE. There are a couple of minimum standards that you need to meet. So you can see those up there. There is also a minimum standard in relation to literacy and numeracy that you need to meet. And you can see an example up there of what is a Track Ed report. They are the reports that I put together for you over the course of your 2 years that shows how many points you have banked and how many points you are tracking for, so that you can see at all of those crucial junctures where you are at, and maybe if we need to be having a discussion if things are not quite going to plan. Okay, so you get used to reading those Track Ed reports as we go through your schooling years. This is the information from QCEE. So you will have linked to this information as you get your set planning information. But you can see there are some key points there about set amount, set pattern, set standard and literacy and numeracy that you need to meet in order to get your QCE. So let's break that down for you. To get your QCE, you must have 20 QCE points. You must meet literacy and numeracy. And 12 of those 20 points must come from core learning. Core learning is subjects that you are in for all 4 units across Year 11 and 12, or completed certificates, if that's your pathway. So here is a little bit of an example of where you should look, or similar, across the units by the end of Year 12. So you can see there is a Unit 1, a Unit 2, and then a Unit 3 and 4 pair. So in this example up here, you can see that the student at the end of Unit 1 received C results and then the 1D subject. So if you add up those C results, C would indicate that you have satisfactorily completed Unit 1. If you get a C or above, satisfactory. However, if you are a D, or heaven forbid lower, then you will be an unsatisfactory for that unit, which means you will not get the QCE point for that unit. So in the example up there, you can see that through those C results, satisfactory, banking 5 out of the 6 subjects. That is then repeated for Unit 2. So you can see they then improved their result in modern history, then got a C or a satisfactory for Unit 2, however, lost their way a little bit perhaps in biology, got a D unsatisfactory Unit 2, but still got 5 across the 6 subjects. So this student at this point in time has banked 10 QCE points. Okay. When it comes to Unit 3 and 4, they are a pair. They sit together. Which means to get the final 2 points in your subject in Unit 3 and 4, those 2 units together must be a satisfactory. They're not separate. So again, looking at the example up here, you can see that 5 out of the 6 subjects, which means those 10 points. If all of those subjects have been satisfactory, it would have been 12. But we're not separating those. Okay, so that's the important thing to remember. Why that's important is, as you move through your subjects and move through your units, if your results and your tracking becomes a little bit up and down, we need to be having really realistic conversations before you start Unit 3-4 pair about whether you are still in the right subjects. Okay. Why is this important for set planning? Because you want to make sure that you are in those right subjects really from the beginning. If not, and you start dropping off points along the way, particularly in Unit 1 and Unit 2, you might already be in QCE trouble halfway through Year 11 if your first units did not go to plan. Okay? And then we will have conversations about maybe changing subjects or what you have to do to get back some of those QCE points. So I guess that's my first important piece of information for you, is that when you start getting feedback from your teachers and important information about which subjects you might be recommended for in Year 11 and 12, particularly your level of English and mathematics, you need to take that on board realistically, because it will have an impact on you at the beginning of Year 11 if you're not meeting those levels of satisfactory. Okay? So that's really important for you to understand. In calculating QCE points, so I've talked about subjects, and that is the traditional way that most students will bank their unit points for their QCE. However, I know that there is going to be quite a number of you in here who are looking at perhaps doing TAFE, are doing traineeship or an apprenticeship, school-based, might be looking at doing a certificate through another learning provider. They all have QCE points attached to them as well. How many QCE points they have really depends on the level of certificate that you're doing or the amount of hours that you might be completing in that apprenticeship as a school-based student across the time that you're enrolled here. So that's where it becomes a little bit of an individual conversation at set planning. Okay? But rest assured, I will do that calculation and those estimations for you to ensure that right from the beginning that you are able to get your 20 QCE points, and then conversations about how you're tracking across the course of time based on your results. So if you are thinking about doing one of those other pathways, you need to be thinking about, what do I want to do when I finish school? How am I going to balance my external course with my school studies? And that's what I'll talk a little bit further about next week. So if you've got a real question about TAFE and those external courses, I will talk about that more next week, so just bank those ones away. But the important thing for today in QCE is, yes, they do count towards your QCE as well. How much depends on the certificate level that you're completing. Here are some reminders that you need to think about in relation to QCE and your set planning process that you're coming up to. I've already talked about your recommendations from your teachers, particularly English and mathematics, but I would also say in relation to your science subjects. So doing Year 10 science now, and you do a bit of a chemistry unit and a physics unit and a biology taster unit, bank that away and have a think about which one of those did I enjoy the most and how does that align with senior offerings. And talk to your teachers. They are the experts in front of you for those subjects now. Be realistic about your expectations and your subject choices. If you are sitting in foundation mathematics now, is it realistic for you to be thinking about doing math methods in Year 11 and 12? Because you won't have that foundation learning that you need. Remember the literacy and numeracy I talked about at the beginning that you get for your QCE? Here's what happens with literacy and numeracy. If you pass a unit successfully in English, literacy is taken care of. If you pass a unit of mathematics, numeracy is taken care of. So I just said how important it is to think about your level of mathematics and English. So for example, if you go into general English, but you are recommended for essential, which is the lower level, and you don't pass Unit 1 of general English, you haven't got literacy yet. If you decide to stay in general English for Unit 2, and don't get a satisfactory again, you still don't have literacy either. Okay, and that becomes really important as you keep moving through. And then we know 3-4s together, so now you're hanging on for all of Year 12 to make sure you get a pass, to get those 2 points and literacy, because you don't have that yet. Okay, so please take on board the feedback and recommendations that you get from teachers to make sure you're in the right place. Seek help early. If you're having a think about things now and pathways now, start asking questions. Remembering though that we've got 2 sessions to come that might help you with those decisions. And I would also say they're seeking help early in your subjects now as well. So if you're thinking about what subject you want to do in year 11 and 12, but your results now are not indicating that that's the best place for you, are you going to homework club? Are you going to tutorials? Are you using your good study skills now to give you that really strong foundation as you move into the senior space? You'll also be convincing the teachers that maybe you are okay to go into those senior subjects if you're doing the right thing and demonstrating that in semester 2. That will empower that conversation in set planning. And I've talked about some other ways to get your QCE. Remember, I'm going to talk about that more next week. So bank any questions or information you might have away in relation to TAFE, ATAR, non-ATAR pathways. Some more information can be found on the QCEE website. In relation to that, you will get more links of this information in the next couple of weeks in PC as well, and sent home with these videos. So QCEE website is a really good place for you to go. And also, I am more than happy to have conversations with you as you need to. You can find me down C Block in the Senior Hub, or send me an email is always a good way to catch me as well. Regularly checking your emails. In fact, today you will have received an email from Mrs. Hassam that gives you details about when TAFE is opening for next year and traineeship opportunities that are available for year 10s moving into year 11 and 12 as well. So I cannot stress enough to be regularly checking your emails. That's where key information and opportunities will be coming your way. That is QCE in a nutshell. Okay, 20 points, literacy and numeracy, ensuring that you are in the right subjects from the beginning so that you stay on track for your QCE, and then the conversations we will have over your 2 years of schooling in relation to how you are tracking.